Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the First Religious Society, Unitarian Universalist in Newburyport, Massachusetts. I'm Nancy Crocher, and I'm your worship associate this morning. So nice to see so many of you here in person on this sunny day and to connect with those of you online. We come together as a church community, both online and in person, committed to love, peace, and justice. Our core values are authentic connection, courageous action, love, spirituality, and wonder. Our mission and our invitation to all of you is to come as you are, journey together in love, act with courage, transform our world. If you're visiting today or joining us for the first time, welcome. We're delighted you're here. If you're joining us online, you'll find a link to the order of service either in your reminder email or just below the live stream window. There are many great things going on this week, so please do check your order of service. In particular, though, I'd like to call your attention to the screening of Dawnland this Wednesday evening, March 30th, from 7:30 to 9 p.m. via Zoom webinar. For decades, child welfare authorities removed Native American children from their homes to enculturate them to become white and lose their indigenous traditions, culture, and language. In Maine, the first official Truth and Reconciliation Commission in the United States begins a historic investigation. Dawnland goes behind the scenes as this historic body grapples with difficult truths, redefines reconciliation, and charts a new course for state and tribal relations. Dawnland is the winner of the 2019 Emmy Award for Outstanding Research. Following the screening, reflections from Reverend Rebecca will lead us into a live Q&A with panelists, including the senior advisor for the film and one of the participants on the Maine Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Again, this must-see event happens this Wednesday evening, March 30th, so mark your calendars. Every Sunday, it's a blessing that we gather, so let us give ourselves to it. Welcome once again. It's good to be together.
It is indeed good to be together. In honor of the film screening this week and our commitment as a faith community to partnering with local Indigenous people, our call to worship this morning is in the form of a land acknowledgement. We honor that we are standing on land traditionally occupied by the Kawasuk Band of the Pennacook Abenaki people. Pennacook, also called Merrimack, means bottom of the hill. We acknowledge that these people were horrifically colonized, stripped of their lives and dignity, and robbed of the land they loved and stewarded. We say, therefore, that the spirit and the heart of this land is your land, Kawasuk Band of the Pennacook Abenaki people. You are faithfully called to worship.
Please join us as we light the chalice. The words are written in your order of service. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
Each week, we also light 2 candles of peace, representing 2 places on earth we lift up and remember as a sacred encounter with our world. There are untold numbers of places on earth that need peace. These 2 we especially hold close in this service and through the week ahead. After each candle is lit, I will say, "To this we respond," inviting you to join together in saying, "Peace, Sol, Shalom." Our first candle this morning is lit for the nation of Yemen, where a devastating civil war has raged since 2014, causing one of the greatest humanitarian crises in the world, with hundreds of thousands of people going hungry. We pray for the peaceful resolution of this conflict without unnecessary interference. To this we respond, "Peace, Sol, Shalom." Our second candle this morning is lit for the city of Pittsfield, Massachusetts, where in the space of 1 month, 2 people have been killed by police using guns. We pray for a thorough investigation of these incidents and for policies that prevent the need for the use unnecessarily of any kind of deadly force. To this we respond, "Peace, Sol, Shalom." Please rise in body or in spirit, and let's join in our opening hymn, number 86 in the gray hymnal, "Blessed Spirit of My Life." Please join in our affirmation of faith and doxology. The words can be found in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God.
Let faith and hope with love arise.
Please be seated.
Good morning. Now I'd like to invite all of the children to come forward and to join us up here on the chancel. Reverend Rebecca will be sharing a book called Mother God by Teresa Kim Pekinovsky. Those of you online will see the illustrations as Reverend Rebecca reads the story.
All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Come on. Hi. Good morning. I like your new glasses, Charlotte. Hi. Come on in. Good morning, Charlotte. Hi. And I like your unicorns very much. Good morning. Good morning, sweetheart. Lots of space. Plenty of space for you. Come on in. There is plenty of space for everyone. Good morning. So good to see you all. I'm going to be sharing a book that I like a lot. It's entitled Mother God. And at the end, when you go down to Young Church, I need one of you or two who will take this with you. Because, okay, great, excellent. Mara said she can show you the pictures more closely. So in case you don't get to see them as much as you'd like to, you can look again. So this book is entitled Mother God. And it starts with the most beautiful picture of stars and the galaxy. Did you know you're made of stardust? Yes, it's true. It's true. Yeah. Stardust is the most important thing in the earth, we've been said. Mother God. So, you may have heard about God the Father, but God is your mother, too. You are made in her image. That's stardust. She is making all things new. Waiting for new life to begin, God is a mother in labor. I know it's hard to see, right? It's pretty good. I agree. Yeah, not too shabby. I'm getting feedback. She takes deep breaths until the birth, rejoicing with friend and neighbor. See all the diversity in their friends and neighbor? Each one beautiful for who they are. Throughout day and night, God wakes to nurse the infant at her side. She snuggles her baby gently until he closes his sleepy eyes. When baby tumbles on the floor, God pulls off each tiny sock. Kind of cute, not gonna lie. I'm sharing the feedback I'm receiving. She holds her arms out wide and the baby learns to walk. God is Sophia, wisdom. Have you ever heard that name? No, right? Yes, some of us. Sophia means wisdom. Teaching. You have a cousin named Sophia. It's a beautiful name. Teaching what is true and right. Wisdom works, creates, orders, and plays. She calls us with joy and delight. Over the waters of creation, God is a spirit who hovers. She forms the earth into a bed, and the wide sky it covers. Do you ever think about that like that? The sky as our cover and the earth as a bed? God is a mother hen who gathers chicks under her wings. She plays hide and seek in soft grass behind trees and quiet springs. Whoa, now we're going to see other parts or expressions. She protects her cubs from danger. God, the great mother bear, as fierce as she is tender. She guards them in her care. Did you ever hear that expression? Someone say I'm like a mama bear. I say that about my kids. God is a lurking leopard, secretive, skilled, and strong. Teaching her young to swim and climb, she roars, and they tag along. A leopard. Pretty amazing, right? A cheetah, a leopard. With a huge supply of flour God needs and bakes good bread, she feeds her entire neighborhood. They feast, and all are fed. Right? God is a skillful seamstress who stitches and sews threads together. She makes clothes for rain, snow, and sun, caring for you in all kinds of weather. We have a couple more. She starts to look different there, right? She has gray hair. Granny, Baba, Halamione. God is a woman with gray hair. She passes down stories of old, rocking softly in a chair. Did you know that people who have gray hair have a lot of stories to share? They help us learn. She is the God who sees you. God weeps and mourns and cries. She comforts you through your longest night, keeping watch until sunrise. She quiets us with her songs, sings lullabies in the night. God, our nurturing mother, wraps us in holy moonlight. I love the moon. God is your loving mother. You are made in her image too. She calls you beloved, and she is making all things new. So remember this stardust. Remember, that's what you're made from. Thank you. You've been such great listeners. I like spending time with you, and I hope you have a good time downstairs in Young Church. You promised, right? To take the book?
Please join now in singing our children to Young Church with hymn number 413, Go Now in Peace.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Ray Wilson. Some of you remember my youngest son, Joe. His mother and I adopted him out of foster care at age 11. When the New Hampshire Department of Children, Youth, and Families rescued him from his birth family at age 5, they put him at the St. Charles Children's Home in Rochester, New Hampshire, which was and is run by Catholic nuns who to this day wear traditional habit. There's a little chapel there, very colorful, with stained glass windows, statues, stations of the cross, and so forth. That was Joe's first exposure to organized religion. So, the very first time I brought him here at age 11, he was quite taken aback. He looked all around, slowly, wide-eyed at these plain gray walls, white trim, clear glass windows. Then he leaned over to me and whispered, "Where's God?" There's no brief answer to that one. Many of us are here because we long ago stopped believing in the Abrahamic God of our childhood. Nevertheless, we recognize that certain things of many, many kinds are holy. And we avidly seek connection with those things because they enrich our lives. So in part, I could answer the 11-year-old Joe, God is in this place where for centuries people have helped each other be their best selves. God is in these plain gray walls, the white trim and the clear glass. God is in the music we hear and in the words spoken from this pulpit. And above all, God is the love that binds us all together in good times and bad, from cradle to grave. Now we are engaged in our annual pledge campaign. All members and friends of FRS should have received by now the fine brochure detailing both the annual pledge drive as well as highlighting some of the work that has been done over the past year. The continuing mission and the proposed new initiatives of FRS as captured in our values, mission, and ends will only be accomplished through the dedication and generosity of each one of us. This church is a beacon of hope and love that enriches all our lives. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We come here again and again because we walk out of these doors feeling better than when we walked in. This church helps us, each one of us, become more like our best selves. And when we feel more like our best selves, our eyes can shine. We need that. And so do our families, and so does our community and our country so polarized and our world so troubled. Every member, supporter, and friend of FRS is offered an opportunity to speak with a campaign steward. These connections are an extension of the church beyond these plain gray walls and help us to bind us together in this beloved community. So please, spend an hour with your campaign steward or a half hour and just chat. And when your steward asks you to pledge your to support, to continue and to enlarge the mission of this church, please ask yourself, not how generous can I be, but rather, how generous do I aspire to be, and act on the aspiration.
Good morning. My name is Paula Esty. I'm a brand new member of FRS-UU. I started going right before the pandemic, and so really I only know you online, and I look forward to getting to know who this community is in person. I was drawn here because you are a mirror of my own desires, my own passions, and the work that keeps me so busy. I have been a spokesperson for human rights, for the environment, and social justice since I was a teenager, with every passing decade of my life becoming even more vocal, more committed, and intentional. 8 years ago, I began a gallery here in Newburyport, which, after the infamous election of 2016, I began pivoting toward activism. In 2017, I founded the Women in Action Huddle, which is an activist and support group with over 500 members of all backgrounds, genders, and cultures. The huddle serves this community through collections and drives, educational forums, rail trail gardens, and a constant call to action and responsibility. Last year, the PEG Center, with the huddle as one of her programs, became a nonprofit, and I find myself way too old becoming the head of a nonprofit organization. Service is now my profession. I became a member of FRS because we share values and actions from environmental work to social justice. I see an active, engaged, and responsible community for change as evidenced by the amazingly numerous groups, stewardships, and community action that this church contributes to daily. And then there is the Afghan resettlement, in which the huddle is actively involved and which is a personal answer to a prayer of my own. Act with courage, transform our world is a personal call to action for me and one that resonates deeply in my heart. To have a spiritual community in which these values are openly espoused and supported supports me to be and become the human I want to be, as Ray just said. To look around at all of you and to know you seek similar values and hopes in your own lives means that I have companionship along the way. I have structures that help me be most effective. I have a place to call home that sees my best traits and expands them into a meaningful life. I am deeply grateful to you. I was a founding member of the spiritual community of Unity on the River in Amesbury in the late 90s. Unity is a metaphysical religion whose roots are in the transcendental movement of the 1800s, so its history is very much younger in comparison to Unitarian Universalism. Unity on the River was founded by Shipley Allenson, and I had the privilege of serving as artist in residence and her worship leader, along with musician Curtis J. Haynes, for more than 15 years. It was exciting to actually help form a new spiritual community. One of our founding principles was that tithing of our time and treasure was a spiritual practice. To support where we are being spiritually fed, whether to an institution or even to an individual, has now become a way of life for me. The huddle has increased my awareness and appreciation of service because what I experience over and over again is that we all want to help. We all want to contribute. We desire connection and community. Some of us can give of our time, some of our treasures, some can give both. Giving is also an act of receiving, and so when we give each other opportunities to serve, we open our whole community into greatness. People want to help. It feeds our souls. When our new Afghan family needed winter boots, the huddle membership raised more than $1,000 in 2 days. When we appeal for items for our food pantries, we are overwhelmed with generous donations of food and money. People want to help. It makes us feel gifted to gift others with our undivided attention, our compassion, and our empathy, and our treasure. Albert Schweitzer said, the only ones among us who will really be happy are those who will have sought and found ways to serve. This is the person I strive to become, and it is a mirror of the people, the leadership, and the programs right here at FRS. Sometimes giving of our finances can feel threatening, or we resist, out of feelings of lack, of not measuring up to what we think others are doing. Perhaps we are on a fixed income or in a lean time. The joy of giving can be overshadowed by uncertainty. My son gave me an antidote when times feel lean. During the pandemic and at the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, I was having a conversation with my Sam, who's 34 years old. He's an artist living in Los Angeles. There's not a lot of money in his life. I asked him, what are we doing to help? We both attended endless protests and marches, he on the left coast, me on the right. Money, of course, came up. In my son's enoughness, comes a generosity that I should not have been surprised by. I asked him how he contributes and to what, and his response has stayed with me and become my mantra. Spread out what you have to give among the causes and the institutions that matter most to you. Take anything you have and divide it into the buckets that matter most to you, even to individuals. I sat down the next day and I wrote my list and I wrote my checks in the amount that felt comfortable to me and my life. I have not looked back. So no matter the amount, giving feels good. It sustains what we find most valuable, and it elevates our consciousness to truly include ourselves as part of this wondrous and difficult journey called life. When I look around this congregation, I see the joy in your faces. I know your generosity by the work you do and the community you serve, and I want to be a part of it. I am so grateful to be learning here at FRS. I am so glad I found a spiritual home that is a mirror to my own heart. I belong here, and it is a privilege to support the great mission of this church. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula, and thank you, Ray, and thank you everyone who has spoken this month and given so generously. Last evening, I received an email from Paula, and she said, do I really need to go up to that pulpit? Can I speak from the floor? I said, speak from wherever you want, but please come where you belong, up here with me at the pulpit.
The generosity of our community is an essential ministry that supports the work of the church in Newburyport and beyond. Each week, 50% of the Sunday offering not designated as a pledge goes to a local community partner engaged in important efforts to transform our region. Our March shared collection goes to support UTEC, whose mission is to ignite and nurture the ambition of our most disconnected young people to trade violence and poverty for social and economic success. They serve Lowell, Lawrence, and Haverhill. The program starts behind the walls of correctional facilities and transitions to an intensive program in the community post-release. 87% of young adults in their workforce development programming had no new re-arraignments. This re-arraignment rate is 1/4 of the state average. Please help fuel the hope for young people in this program. If you wish to give online, please use the link in your order of service or in the chat. You can also make a contribution via text message. Of course, you can always mail a check to the church as well. We will receive the offering for the weekly collection now, and then pause to receive pledges for our annual giving campaign after the regular offering is complete. The offering will now be gratefully received.
She sets a table before me
The month of March is also the time of our annual campaign. Our time together includes a ritual of giving, and we hope you will participate whether you're here in person or online. This is our final Giving Sunday, and we still have over 20% left to raise to meet our goal. These gifts are the primary way we raise funds to pay our staff, our care for our buildings, and support our programs. Please give as generously as you can. New gifts are welcome, as are increased gifts. Members and friends are encouraged to participate. Perhaps you've brought your pledge cards with you, but if you don't have one, you will find pledge cards in your pew. If you have a pledge to make or a change to your current pledge, please come forward as the music continues, and John Mercer and John Gibson will receive it. Thank you. The offering will now be gratefully received.
We are blessed by one another. Each Sunday, we take time to lift up the joys and sorrows of our beloved faith community. Tom Himmel, our pastoral care associate, will light candles as I read the joys and sorrows that have been shared with me in advance of today's service. If you would like to share a joy or a sorrow to be read in the service, you can always send an email to betweenus@frsuu.org or directly to me. We also have a journal at the front of the sanctuary each Sunday morning where you're invited to write anything that you would like to be shared. This morning, Julie Menon asks that we keep her father, Merrill Forney, in our prayers. Merle, age 97, fell on Monday, March 21st, and broke his hip. He underwent a hip replacement and will hopefully be transferred to rehab in a few days. Julie let me know this morning that, in fact, he was waiting for a ride this morning to go to someplace he was volunteering. Many locals here in Newburyport know him as the heart and soul behind the Kids as Peacemakers mural program in Greater Newburyport, held from 2000 through 2014. Julie also asks this morning for thoughts and prayers for her cousin, Dick Fry. Doctors discovered a mass in his lung while running tests for a heart procedure. We light a candle this morning to welcome home all of you who I would list by name but do not want to embarrass, some of whom have had surgeries and have returned, some of whom it's taken a little while to feel ready to return in the pandemic. Every time I receive a call, an email, or a note that someone is home safely, that a surgery was successful, it just reminds me how sacred life is and how important each and every one of us are. We light one final candle for all the sorrows and all the joys that, although unnamed, are just as important and held in our hearts. And at this time, I invite us into a 2-minute time of communal, shared silence, meditation, centering. Peace, peace, peace.
Good morning, everybody. We're going to try something, and if it doesn't work, we'll make a joyful mess together. How's that? So this song that the choir is about to sing, you heard the first week of our annual campaign. Reverend Rebecca heard it, and I know it's actually a song that's familiar to all of us, as Deb Shapiro, the Reverend Sophia Lyons, and Lee Pearson did sing this song many years ago, and I know that that is a beloved memory here. But now I would love to invite all of us to try singing a little bit of this song. I'd like to teach you the last verse, And then as the choir sings, they'll let you know when it's time to sing, and we'll all join in together. It's very easy. So the words go like this. This is the sound of one voice. One spirit, one voice. The sound of one who makes a choice. This is the sound of one voice. So, not very many words to remember. Now, I'll sing one phrase, you sing it back to me, okay? This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice. One spirit, one voice. One spirit, one voice. The sound of one who makes a choice. The sound of one who makes a choice. You'll hear that one a bunch of times, so let the choir teach it to you. This is the sound of one voice. 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 So, as I said, the choir will give you several chances to hear that, and then they will invite you in. I unfortunately can't do it myself because I've got to play all those other notes, but I trust that you'll all do a wonderful job.
One spirit, one voice. The sound of one who makes a choice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of
Our reading today is entitled Moving Day by Reverend Rebecca Bryan. We were moving and leaving that terrible house. All my dreams were real. My stepdad waits on the side of the driveway to embark. He will drive ahead of us in his car. I open the door to our blue car, put our poodle, Toby, in the back seat, and strap him in. With my beloved mutt safe and sound, I place my 9-year-old self in the front bucket seat, next to my mom, who will be driving. She is sober. This makes my heart sing. My hopes rise, floating so high they go magically out of the car roof, where they connect with white clouds high in the pale blue sky. I follow them and catch a balloon floating by. I return to my body and feel my hands on the vinyl car seat, then turn to snap in the seatbelt until I hear a pop, so I know it's secure, safe, as I've always wanted to be. Eventually, I start to read. It feels like it's been an hour or two. It may have only been 5 minutes. Eternity knows no time in a child's life. Vision remembers the worst. Books promise the best. Licking my pointer finger before turning the page, I reach my hand down to the floor where our snacks are happily packed in a bag. "Do you want a cheese cracker, Mom?" I ask as I consider a prune for myself. The prunes must have been left over from when she emptied the cupboard. I know the bright orange cheese crackers in their crinkly plastic, 6 to a package, exactly 6, were purchased just for our trip. I pretend not to notice or care that they are store brand, not real. Generic stands in for most anything in our home. For those years of my life, we knew green stamps, rotten stale food, on sale, and generic. For the first time, it doesn't matter. My happiness no longer depends on her. We follow my stepfather's car safely, keeping 2 car lengths between us. And then she does it, pulls the Budweiser out from behind her seat and opens it with one hand. That awful popping sound rings danger in my ear as she drives with her free hand. Swinging the beer to her mouth, she chugs it and then pats my leg. "It's going to be different this time," she says. "I promise."
Thank you, Nancy. And I will apologize for the last time this month that we're running over. It's so important we hear from everyone during this month, so thank you for bearing with us. Nancy had asked me if I would prefer to read that piece myself, since I wrote it. I told her it would be preferable by far if she read it. Because I have learned that pain is not meant to be held alone, and that it certainly can't be healed alone, at least not in my experience. And that's what I'm offering you this morning, my experience. It may or may not have similarities with your life experiences, and I am certainly not trying to persuade you to believe anything other than my story. This is my way of letting you get to know me better, specifically from the perspective of my faith journey and my interior life. I hope we can all find ways to share our truths and stories with one another, be it in word, art, or intimate one-on-one conversations. If not here at church, where? I am moved to share my journey of faith with you for several reasons. First, I have been so impressed by the journeys of faith that I read even in advance of coming here on your website and that I've heard over the last 4 years, including the testimonials we've heard this morning and this month. Every time one of you shares your story, I am made better. Your truths enrich my experience and understanding of life. Your stories make me laugh, cry, question, and wonder. That then is my hope, that each of you may either laugh or cry or question or wonder, or in some way be changed by what you hear this morning. I am also sharing this morning, and I'll be honest, because occasionally I'll hear someone question whether our church has spirituality at its center, along with caring for one another and working for social justice. And every time I hear that, I cringe. Don't they know me? I ask myself when I hear that. I had to finally answer, well, maybe not entirely this part. It would be impossible for me to be your minister without being deeply spiritual. It is foundational to who I am. My spirituality and my faith is the source of my strength, my energy, and my inspiration. Again, it is essential to who I am. And it's time for me to be abundantly clear about this aspect of myself. And lastly, I'm sharing this today because I want to model authentic connection. And I hope my words and truth help even one person. I am no longer willing to hide. Before I go on, let me set down a few facts on the proverbial table. These are not easy facts. You've heard most of them over the course of the last 4 years, although I've never put them all together or been quite as specific as I am about to be. I am a survivor of child abuse that went on for years, including sexual abuse at very tender young ages for years. Those experiences made lasting impressions and deep wounds on my heart, my psyche, and my mind. But they do not define me. They do not have the final word. I survived, I heal and thrive every day after years of transformative and sometimes, often, grueling work. The abuse and the alcoholism that was rampant in my mother's home, where these things occurred, caused many painful patterns I've had to overcome, including addiction, PTSD, and faulty thinking about myself and the world around me. I turned to food as a source of medication and dissociation when this all started at the very young age of 4. Later in life, and for a much shorter stint, I turned to alcohol. Not surprisingly, I was a magnet to sick men, particularly those in power, such as bosses and professors, resulting in further mistreatment and abuse. Through it all, the thing that saved me was my faith that things would get better someday. And they have. beyond my wildest dreams. For that, I am so grateful. I will always turn around and look for those who I can help know freedom. I have deep gratitude for so many people who have loved and supported me, some of whom are watching online today. My father, who always believed in me, and of course, my beloved children and husband. The framework within which I experience and express my spirituality is multifaceted. I was born a mystic and religious naturalist. I just came out that way. This means that I experience the God of my understanding, which I'll explain later what that word means, so hang in there, please. I experience this God of my understanding every day, sometimes in small ways, sometimes quite miraculously, and always in nature as well as relationships. Again, I'll explain in a little while what that concept God means to me. My sensitivity to and awareness of the unitive experience of life started very young. My earliest memory of seeing a spirit was when I saw an indigenous person on the land I was living. I was 3 years old. This shamanistic experience of life, connection to the non-physical and intuitive realms, it's second nature to me, and it is a large way that I see the world. My parents separated when I was 4, after which time I was raised by my mother in the Methodist Church. I loved church, which I've shared before from this pulpit. I loved its red carpet, safe feelings, and people all around. We rarely went to church, however, so I wasn't indoctrinated in its teachings. Most of what I knew about spirituality and God came from within me. I converted to Unitarian Universalism at the age of 9, when I first heard a UU minister preach at my grandparents' church in Brewster, Massachusetts. I remember with my head laying on my grandmother's lap thinking, well, of course, this makes sense. Later, I converted to Catholicism for 7 years while married to my first husband, so we would share a faith in which to raise our children. The thing is, I never left any of my earlier threads. I simply wove them into who I was becoming. Shaman, mystic, religious naturalist, Christian, and Unitarian Universalist. I started practicing yoga in my 20s. It has been an ongoing and essential way I've learned to be in my body and connect body and spirit. It continues to be a daily practice for me, though its forms and lineage have changed over the years. As a young adult, I also began learning and integrating Buddhist practices into my life, including becoming a vegetarian, meditation, and mindfulness. Pema Chodron and Thich Nhat Hanh continue to be key teachers in my pluralistic knapsack. 12-step recovery programs have been an essential part of my life for the past 15 years and are also foundational to how I live. For me, they are both spiritual and humanist. They offer sustaining approaches to life which I was not taught as a child. I started seminary, which had been a calling for decades, less than 1 year after I stopped drinking. I didn't realize how important it was for me to be clean if I were to grow into my true self. My time in seminary was a dream come true in all ways, and led me to ordination in 2015 and to you in 2018. The older I get, the more connected that I am to feminism, womanist theology, and writing, as a spiritual, healing, and creative practice. I am attracted to bold women who walk their true path, like Dorothy Day, Jackie Lewis, Nadia Weber-Boltz, and other more reserved women like Julian of Norwich and Sue Monk Kidd. There are 3 through lines in my faith journey which remained and continue to remain through all of its twists and turns. They are what I call the golden threads that weave in and out of my everyday and life experience. These 3 through lines are: God is real. Healing and transformation are possible with authentic love and connection. And there is more to reality than meets the human eye. I told you I'd define God as I understand it, so I'll do that. God is real. By God, I mean a force of nature that is always available to us. It is a good thing. It is our choice to connect with it. And it will always be there to help us connect with our best selves and whatever it is we may need in that moment, be it patience, courage, wisdom, compassion, and yes, even rage. I call it love. Mine is a theology of a real and loving source I call God that embraces all and that we can freely choose to be in relation with. In this understanding, God is an energy, not a person. It is at the same time personal and impersonal, expansive and microcosmic. God does not control but offers itself. Therefore, as I understand it, God is chosen. God is love. God is brave, forgiving, and compassionate, fierce, strong, and beautiful. God knows no gender. God moves towards justice, compassion, and communal liberation. This ever-greening source of love is available to everyone. It is experienced through authentic connection within ourselves, between 2 or more people, and with the source itself. It is expressed through courageous action that works for the liberation and equality of all people, the earth and its creatures. I commune or come into contact and relationship with this source in silence and in action. I need both for my theology to be grounded and authentic at this point in my life. I'm healthiest when I have a rich inner life and outer life. I am up before sunrise at 4 a.m. every day to relish in 2 hours of uninterrupted spiritual practice. It is my soul's food. My work in justice must, by necessity, be balanced with these contemplative practices of centering prayer, silence, being in nature, writing, connecting to my inner world. However, that silence calls me to engage in compassionate, brave action for all who suffer. And my work in the world demands that I return to silence and connection, where I replenish and restore not only my body, but my soul. I'm also a devoted follower of the life and teachings of Jesus, including prioritizing the marginalized, speaking truth to power, nonviolence, and radical, radical love and inclusion. I am not one lost in intellectual or scholarly debate about Jesus. I find his teachings and way of life far more compelling and interesting. I am a Unitarian Universalist minister who believes in the necessity and the beauty of religious plurality and the right of all people to your beliefs. I am a pacifist and a spiritual warrior who does my best to live by the values of love, courageous action, and beauty. I seek to be rigorously honest with myself and radically compassionate with others. I believe in and find much guidance and nurturance from the spiritual realm, including guides, spirits, and the unseen. There is much more than meets the human eye. Above all, my faith is one of hope. Hope that things will get better and that healing and transformation are possible. I know this is possible on a personal level as I've lived it in my own life and supported many others in their own transformation. Because I believe that what is true on the micro level is also true on the macro level, I also believe healing and transformation are possible on the public level. If, in my experience, we choose God or love, we connect in authentic relationship and community. We act with courage, and we realize there's always more than meets the eye. Amen, and blessed be. Let's rise, embody our spirit, and join in our closing hymn, 1014, your teal hymnal, Answering the Call to Love.
You may find that the words don't match up with that. The composer, Jason Shelton, has invited us to greater inclusion by replacing the words standing on the side of love with answering the call of love. Happens twice in the chorus. You've got 6 whole chances. If you make a mistake, just smile and try again the next verse.
Let's join our words in our unison benediction. The words are printed in your order of service. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. I do want to invite anyone who has questions about our canvas to come up near where the choir is after the service and join us for coffee hour outside on the brick walkway. My friends, before I offer a blessing unto you, I just must say thank you. Thank you for letting me know I can speak my truth and be who I am, as can every single one of you, because it is truth that sets us free. Go in peace. Return again in great joy. I love you. Amen.